Happy Thursday, everybody. Welcome into the start of Week 8. The halfway point officially. Actually, we're beyond the halfway point of the regular season. Or this is the beginning. This is the second half of the fantasy regular season, kicking off tonight. 7 weeks in the books, another 7 still to go. So maybe you don't have the best record. Maybe you're off to a bad start. That's okay. It's not fun, but there's still time. There's still time to turn this around. The second half of the fantasy regular season begins tonight with a very intriguing matchup between the Vikings and the Rams. I say it's intriguing not because we're expecting Cooper Kupp to make his return after a multi-week absence, but it is now reported that possibly Puka Nacua will be available for tonight's game as well. And the latest that we have on that front is that he will go through pregame warmups to determine how he is feeling, and the Rams will make a call from there. So he could be limited. I'm not sure at this point that we can feel confident that we will get any type of report that Puka will be limit-free. If that's the case, we probably have to leave him on the bench. But if we do, in fact, get the update, get the notification that Puka Nacua will play without any limitations tonight, we will find a way to get him into the lineup. So we're going to probably have to wait until about 45 minutes from now or so is when we will first start getting injury information as it pertains to the Thursday night game. So probably around 6:45 Eastern Standard Time, maybe closer to 7, we will get the first iteration of who's in and who's out for this game. So I wouldn't be surprised to see a Puka update come down around then. But in this specific instance, it's possible that it comes even closer to kickoff. So, we're going to keep tabs on this, eyes and ears close to the ground over the next, about 2 hours or so to ultimately make a call on what to do with Puka Nacua. It's great to see that he is a candidate to return tonight. I think that's fair to call that pretty unexpected. But it's nice that we potentially get him back. If in a limited fashion this week means that he's ramped up and ready to go at 100% in week 9, I think given the circumstances, a lot of fantasy managers who have Puka will take that. Will take that because the vibes around him over the past few weeks haven't been great. But it appears that we're turning a corner with Puka Nacua, which is great news. So just to kind of get into my overall start-sit thoughts for this game, the Thursday night game. For anybody just joining me for the first time, welcome. For anybody who has been around the block, also good to see you again. Y'all know the drill at this point. I will go over general thoughts on startable options tonight, guys to potentially consider sitting before we get into the round of practice reports that we have now that we have 2 days of practice in the books. For this evening between the Vikings and the Rams, there's 4 names that you already knew were going to be in your lineup regardless of who you have, who you intend to start, who's on your roster. Kyron Williams is in your starting lineup. Justin Jefferson is in your starting lineup. Aaron Jones is in your starting lineup, even though he's got the injury designation. He's in your lineup. Cooper Kupp, the aforementioned Cooper Kupp, making his return to the lineup after being out since about halftime of week 2. He returns tonight. you get him into your lineup as well. You are starting Sam Darnold in this matchup, even in one quarterback formats. I think he is a top 8 option this week against a Rams defense that is very gettable. They are an ideal spot for anybody, quarterbacks, running backs, wide receivers. They are a funnel in every sense of the word. Opposing offenses have had their way with them. We're firing up Darnold. One quarterback leagues, Darnold should be started. Superflex leagues, you already know he's a slam dunk. Those are the must. I would say Kyron, Justin Jefferson, Aaron Jones, Cooper Kupp are the must starts. And honestly, unless you have Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen, Jalen Hurts, say Joe Burrow, and maybe like a Jordan Love, those are the only guys I would start over Sam Darnold. So he's in all likelihood in one quarterback formats as well as a starter. Jordan Addison is in play tonight as a flex option, as is Tutu Atwell, assuming that Puka is limited. Again, a lot hinges on the ancillary wide receivers. Jordan Whittington is out tonight, so that gives a boost to Tutu Atwell. And, of course, Demarcus Robinson gets a boost if Puka is ultimately unable to go, even though it's trending in the direction that he will be able to play in some capacity. So if Puka plays, no Rams wide receiver outside of Kupp is playable, assuming that Puka's in some type of limited capacity as far as his snaps. If Puka is out, Tutu and Demarcus Robinson are a little bit more in play. So again, we got to keep tabs on Puka's status. If Puka is in, I probably wouldn't start anybody outside of Kupp, but Tutu and Demarcus Robinson are in play as wide receiver 3s in deeper leagues if you need them. Again, Jordan Whittington has already been ruled out. And then Addison is in play as a wide receiver 3. It's a great matchup. He's only had one boom week so far this year. Doesn't have more than 3 catches in any game this year. Addison missed weeks 2 and 3 due to injury. 3 catches week 1, 3 catches week 4, 3 catches week 5, week 6 bye, 3 catches last week. He is a full-time player for them, but he is not taking advantage of TJ Hawkinson's absence, increased potential opportunities in the lineup. Jalen Naylor has been looking pretty good. So Addison is in play as a wide receiver 3, but it's more of a desperation wide receiver 3 than a confident wide receiver 3 play. Speaking of TJ Hawkinson, he will not make his NFL debut tonight, so he continues to sit on the PUP list and probably in your IR spot. We're not starting anybody else here. Ty Chandler, Colby Parkinson, Jalen Naylor. We can't fire him up yet. Again, Demarcus Robinson is in play as a desperation if Puka is out, but it sounds like he'll return. So I don't want to fire up Demarcus Robinson, and I don't really want to fire up Tutu either if Puka is active. And as far as Stafford, probably benching him as well, unless we get the word that Puka will not have any limitations in this game. Then I'm not firing up Matthew Stafford. If it's 8 o'clock on the East Coast and we get the update from whomever that Puka will not have any limitations in this game and they expect a full complement of snaps, Stafford can be fired up in a desperation streaming situation in one quarterback leagues, although that's probably not the case for anybody. There are no bye weeks this week. There are no bye weeks in week 8. So outside of injury, everybody's playing. Every team is playing. So Superflex formats, Stafford's in play if Puka is full go, limitation free. But we need that update first. If Puka's expected to be limited and Stafford only has Kupp to rely on for volume and opportunities outside of his other guys, Demarcus Robinson, Colby Parkinson, Tutu Atwell. If it's just Kupp who's 100% healthy and Puka is still limited, Stafford is a bench, a sit in one quarterback formats. But he can be fired up in super flex formats, tentatively in a more desperate situation, but also a little bit more confidently if Puka plays the full complement of snaps. We have to wait on that update, though. All right, those are my overarching thoughts on Thursday Night Football. So if you do have a start-sit question that pertains to Thursday night, I will prioritize it. If you have a start-sit question that pertains to only games being played either Sunday or Monday night, I will answer it, but I do encourage you to come back on Saturday or Sunday morning if you have start-sit questions about Sunday, when we also get the Friday practice reports in tomorrow, and we'll have the full complement of information that we can possibly have available to us to ultimately make a call on what to do with certain players, especially anybody who is on the injury report. If we're asking start-sit questions on Sunday with guys on the injury report, I can give you an answer, but it's not necessarily locked in stone, set in stone, because we need to see what Friday practice reports look like. To that point, I will go through what we have as far as injury updates through today so far. So maybe that answers a question or two for you. And then I will start to answer any questions. But good to see everybody. Special shout out to Derek. Derek's the only member I see at the moment. Members do get shout outs. That is one of the perks of being a member of the channel. Additionally, you will get your questions answered out of order in priority fashion if you are a member. If you're interested in becoming a member, those details can be found in the first link in the description of this stream and all of the videos and streams on the channel. You can also send a super if you're feeling so inclined. That would also be a line jumper for questions. It's not necessary, but it does get you to the front of the line. And then I will get to everybody else's questions. I just ask for some patience as I work through the injury updates first, and then any member questions and or supers that come up between now and then. Appreciate everybody's patience. There are a lot of injury updates to get through today. So let's get. I quit. Actually, I see a super already. Thank you, Tyler. Appreciate that, man. Thank you so much. Love or Hurts? I mean, I guess I would go Hurts. You're talking about two top 5 quarterback options. So it's like a splitting hairs type of decision that you want to make. Hurts has finished as a top 10 option pretty much like 75-80% of the time, and I'm not making that number up. That's not a spitball. Jalen Hurts is regularly a guy that is just you lock him in as a QB1, and it might be high-end QB1, it might be mid-range QB1, it might be low-end QB1, which is a little disappointing. But generally speaking, Jalen Hurts finishes the week as a top 8 quarterback, one way or another. Love is, of course, on that same track to do that all season long this year. Hurts has a little bit more of a track record. Love, of course, is going up against Jacksonville. Beautiful matchup. Hurts is going up against Cincinnati. Beautiful matchup as well. If it's 6-point passing touchdowns, I would probably say Love. If it's 4-point passing touchdowns, and it's a little bit more of an advantage to quarterbacks that might run a little bit more, and while Love can run, Hurts runs more. If it's 4-point passing touchdowns, which is pretty standard, then I would probably just go Hurts. But if it's 6-point passing touchdowns, then Love has a little bit more of an argument. As far as Otton versus Ferguson, I would go Otton. 8 catches, 100 yards last week. Evans out, Godwin out, offense in flux. They're going to be looking for some Baker Mayfield is going to be looking for some consistent or for some reliable, like familiar looks in the passing game. I mean, we can talk about Jalen McMillan. Sterling Shepard sees a boost. Trey Palmer sees a boost. But Cade Otton is different position, but is a regular starter for the Bucs offense, regardless of all of these changes. I mean, I'm moving forward with Otten, whereas Ferguson has to deal with a tough linebacking core with the 49ers. They're not as shut down of a defense as they were last year. It's still very much a gettable matchup, but Otten's matchup against Atlanta is more favorable than Fergie Ferg's matchup against San Francisco. So I would go Otten. And I would bench the Washington kicker, assuming Jaden Daniels does not play this week. I guess it's possible he plays. Friday practice reports, again, we don't have, so they'll be telling once we have them. But back-to-back missed practices, being called week to week with the rib injury. Jaden Daniels is tracking toward not playing. That is a downgrade for the Washington offense. I know they made it look easy last week against Carolina. A lot of offenses can make their work look easy against a team like the Carolina Panthers. Sorry, Panthers fans. That's just the reality of the situation. I would not be playing Seibert if Marcus Mariota is the starting quarterback. And the Bears are a decent defense. So, yeah, I would look to avoid. So, Love and 6-point passing touchdowns. Otherwise, I would just I would go Hurts. I would try to trade one of those two. It's a one quarterback league. I'm sure maybe trading is difficult in those situations, but I would try to make it happen. Somebody probably needs a quarterback. Those are two top 5 options. I would trade one of those two for running back or wide receiver depth if you could. And then give me Otten, and I would bench Washington's kicker. Yes. With Mariota likely starting, yes. Appreciate the super, Tyler. Very kind of you. Thank you. And what's going on, Crumbly Heads? Good to see you. We got to keep tabs on Puka before we take him off IR and fire him up. To that point, I'm going to get into the latest we have as far as injury updates, and then I will return to the chat. As of today, Tua Tagovailoa, this has been the trend of the week. One of the pieces of news of the week, other than obviously Puka and the injuries to, say, like the 49ers and the Bucs. Tua's return appears to be here. We seem to be getting Tua back for week 8. If he goes and there's no limitations, Tyreek goes back to being a top 5 wide receiver. Jalen Waddle goes back to being a guy that you can confidently fire up in lineups. Devon Achane is a guy that you can confidently go back to the well with and fire him up into lineups. So we'll keep tabs on that one. Bucky Irving is not participating for the second straight day in practice. That is a noteworthy development, especially after the Bucs lost their starting 2 wide receivers. The vibes with Rachaad White have been gross recently. They suddenly turned around. Rachaad White can be fired up as a strong RB2, not only because Godwin and Evans are not going to play this week, but if Bucky Irving doesn't play, that's more snaps and touches for Rachaad White, you would think, specifically in the opportunities to catch the ball out of the backfield. So half PPR, full PPR leagues, Rachaad White was probably a pre-draft target for you anyway as an upper echelon pass-catching back. His role should look something like what he got last year, which was full-time usage, except now Evans and Godwin are out of the picture. So Rachaad White, strong play this week, was looking like a strong play regardless. If Bucky Irving can't play, Rachaad White is entering. Rachaad White went from like the recycling bin or like the Dollar General to all of a sudden, like, now he's back in the penthouse and a guy that we want to get into our starting lineup. So let's keep tabs on Bucky Irving's status. Brandon Aubrey, this is noteworthy as far as kicker news goes, is expected to play this week. He could not get out of jury duty. Welcome to being welcome to real life problems of your average American, Brandon Aubrey. But it sounds like he will not miss the game due to doing his civic duty. Brandon Aubrey will be able to play this week, and something like jury duty is not something to deter us from firing Brandon Aubrey up. DeAndre Hopkins is expected to make his Chiefs debut after the team traded for him. So all of a sudden, Hopkins has life on his 2024 season. You love to see it for veteran players. You hate watching 32, 33-year-old guys who have been great, but they're kind of on the edge. They're running out of time. They're in their last season or two. Depending on your thoughts are on the Chiefs, there's a lot. Obviously, the Chiefs aren't super well liked in national circles these days. That's what happens when you win a shitload of games and championships. But good for DeAndre Hopkins. He is fantasy relevant once again. This is this is the perfect storm. This is the perfect landing spot for DeAndre Hopkins. The opportunity was wide open. He goes from catching passes from Will Levis and Mason Rudolph to Patrick Mahomes. He's now on the wide receiver 3 roadmap rest of season. I don't know that I would fire him up this week. Midweek acquisition could be volatile, could be dicey, but depending on who your other options are, you may not have a better one. Again, Jaden Daniels, I kind of already alluded to this in Tyler's Super. Thank you again, Tyler. If Jaden Daniels does not go and he has not practiced for 2 straight days, outside of Brian Robinson, we got to downgrade everybody here, and that includes Terry McLaurin. McLaurin is more on like the wide receiver 3 radar, lower ceiling, limited big play opportunities. Mariota looked fine last week against the Carolina Panthers, but he'll have to play a defense with a little bit more talent, and I'm putting it nicely, against the Chicago Bears. And Mariota, let's call a spade, is a backup for a reason. So we're downgrading the entire offense. I would still fire up Brian Robinson. You probably have to fire up Terry McLaurin, but we don't have as much confidence in this offense as we obviously did with Jaden Daniels, who is playing out of his mind. So hopefully he can get back soon. Jameson Williams does not appeal his 2-game suspension, so he is out weeks 8 and 9. Could be good news for Sam Laporta if you are waiting on him to eventually do something this year. More opportunities just opened up. Speaking of the Panthers, a couple of Panthers aren't practicing today. Andy Dalton for the 2nd straight day not practicing. I believe this is related to the fact that he was in a car accident earlier this week, right? Everything is fine. He's okay. Family's all good. But we could be looking at a Bryce Young week. We could be looking at a Bryce Young week for Carolina. If that's the case, Deontay Johnson has also not practiced for 2 straight games, or 2 straight days, excuse me. Even if Deontay is active on Friday or on Sunday, if Bryce Young is the quarterback, we are not firing up Deontay Johnson. He will be firmly on the bench. Jonathan Brooks, Adam Thielen, sticking with Carolina, limited in practice again. We are not starting either one of those guys. Both remain a wait and see, but obviously there's a lot of intrigue around Jonathan Brooks. We'll see what happens there. Dawson Knox, limited in practice. Just passing information along. Calvin Ridley not seen participating for the 2nd straight day. So Ridley officially looking not ideal for Sunday. We'll keep tabs on him. Ridley remains a difficult guy to trust, even if he is out there. The Titans offense stinks. Jonathan Taylor, good news here, fully practiced on Thursday, as did Josh Downs. So, the Colts offense might be getting a little healthy. You have to fire up Jonathan Taylor if he's active. Whether we feel great about him is another story. This Colts offense is struggling right now. Let's see if Anthony Richardson can eventually turn things around, but the clock is ticking, or that's what it feels like anyway, for him to start getting things going, especially in the passing game. If Anthony Richardson plays, it will be another week where it will be almost impossible to trust Michael Pittman and Josh Downs. One of those guys might do a little something, but it might come at the expense of the other. Again, TJ Hawkinson is out today. Alan Lazard not practicing for the 2nd straight day. Difficult to trust, not just this week, but moving forward with the Jets' acquisition of Devontae Adams. Deebo Samuel, George Kittle, both practicing Thursday for the 49ers. This is huge because Jawan Jennings was one of the premier pickups on the waiver wire this week if he was still available. Brandon Ayuk down for the count, out for the season. George Kittle was day-to-day with a foot sprain, and obviously Deebo, good news recently, but as of Monday was in the hospital due to pneumonia. He has since been released. We were potentially looking at a multi-week absence while he recovers from pneumonia, but his practice availability leaves the door open that Deebo could play this Sunday. If he does, it's volatile. You had him in your lineup last week, and he goose-egged because he wasn't feeling well. But I got to imagine if he's active this week, we're not going to have that problem. Because if the same problem was persisting, then he wouldn't play. Nevertheless, we'll keep tabs on that one. Zay Flowers not practicing for the second straight day, so if Flowers can't go, that's a boost for Rashad Bateman. Perhaps Isaiah Likely can rekindle some magic from week one, or at least a small portion of it. Mark Andrews has reemerged. He's not dead yet. He would figure to see even more targets if Zay Flowers cannot go. And of course, that the run game will continue to be a focal point. And Justice Hill could see, his typical allotment of targets, regardless of game script, if Flowers can't play. Speaking of Ravens running backs, Keaton Mitchell, their exciting rookie from last year. He was lost for the season late in the year last year due to a torn ACL. Limited in practice today. Can't imagine that he plays, but he's trending in the right direction for an eventual return. And now I am seeing Bucky Irving not expected to play week 8. This is actually an update that was almost an hour ago, but this is according to J.C. Allen, who covers the Bucs, beat reporter for the Bucs. Bucky Irving not expected to play. Rachaad White, back from the dead. Back from the dead, and a guy that you want in your lineup this week. Let's see. Derek Carr not practicing. That's not a surprise. Chris Olave is fully practicing today, though, after suffering that concussion last week, or excuse me, it was week 6 that he didn't play because of the short week 7. He could return week 8. Chris Olave should probably stay out of your lineup if Spencer Rattler is the quarterback for a third straight game for New Orleans. No practice for Quentin Johnston or Ladd McConkey. Ladd, maybe the little bit more noteworthy one. Quentin Johnston hasn't been playing, or at least didn't play last week. Ladd did. If he can't go, not an ideal situation for Justin Herbert, even in a great matchup against New Orleans on, I thought they were Monday. They're not Monday. They are. It's a Sunday game. So we'll keep an eye on Ladd McConkey's status. And speaking of one of the trendy waiver claims of the week, Jawan Jennings not practicing for the second straight day. So, the 49ers offense is one to monitor big time this week. Debo, pneumonia. Kittle was listed day to day with a foot sprain. He seems likely to be okay, but we'll keep tabs on it. Jawan Jennings now not practicing with a hip injury 2 days in a row. Is Ricky Pearsall going to get 8 or 9 targets in his second NFL game? Stay tuned. Okay. Those are all of the injury updates, though, at least as far as what we have so far today. A couple more still could roll in. Again, we got about an hour and 45 minutes to kick off. So I would imagine that we get the first wave of who's in and who's out for Rams Vikings in about 15 to 20 minutes from now. So we'll see what Puka's status is, but it seems like he could be limited today. Okay, I'm going to get to member questions first. Again, that is a perk of being a member of the channel, and then I will get to everybody else. So I see all of your questions, regardless of whether you are a member or not. I just ask for some patience as I move through them, but I got to get the members first. That they are the ones who help keep the lights on around here and help support the channel. What's going on, Fortune? Good to see you, man. So I'm going to start it off with the first member question that I see. Actually, this is the first member question that I see. Sorry, Derek. You're trying to make a trade for Evans. If they're being unreasonable, then move on. And I don't mean to sound like, whatever, keep it, not to dismiss it. But if somebody who is not anybody who is 1-6 is not negotiating from a place of power or of any type of advantage. If they're playing hardball with an injured wide receiver after losing other wide receivers to season-ending injuries, then move on. Tell them, best of luck with the rest of your 1-6 season, and there's other league mates that you can have conversations with. I understand, if you want a certain player. There's always players that we as individuals always like, personally and want personally. Maybe Mike Evans is one of your guys, he just in general, and you've always liked him, and this is an opportunity for you to get him. And the guy's playing hardball. It's like, okay, I'm not breaking the bank for an injured wide receiver, especially when we got the update today that Evans is expected to miss at least 4 weeks or 4 games? Because 4 games would be beyond the Bucs bye week, which means, let me double check this before I incorrectly state anything. I saw a Yahoo notification while I was working earlier today, but I wasn't able to completely click on it. Will be out at least 4 weeks. Okay, so that includes the Bucs bye week. So that is a week where it's like, okay, fine. We had to eat that week anyway, so hopefully he's feeling a lot better by then. We're not going to see Mike Evans until week 12. So if somebody who's 1-6 wants to play hardball, then you just tell them best of luck and keep it moving. Enjoy the losses that are sure to come after all of the injuries that you just suffered. Yeah. I hate to say it, but if you're 2-5, if you're 1-6, even if you're 3-4 trying to negotiate with somebody at the top of the league, there's a decent chance that you don't have a ton of, leverage. I don't know why that word was I was messing that word or missing that word, forgetting it. Yeah. You don't have all the leverage in the world when you are in a bad spot of town as it pertains to your record. You got to be willing to be flexible and negotiable to make things happen. So just keep it moving, Derek. As far as trading Montgomery for Christian McCaffrey, you have Gibbs, so that's good. You have both Lions, so you have the benefit of having them both. If one goes down, you have the other. Achane gets a boost with Tua returning. Charbonnet is a handcuff with, I guess only standalone upside if Walker misses time. Do we have a more recent update for McCaffrey outside of he might return week 10? I will go down with this ship if I have to, but I've not been a proponent of investing in Christian McCaffrey as this season has progressed and the news the news continues to unfold. There's still a glimmer of hope. Yes, he will return. He will play this year, but arthritis in both legs. We're going to be 9 weeks into the season, 10 weeks into the season before McCaffrey plays. Potentially back after the bye week. That was 3 days ago. That's the most recent update that we have for McCaffrey. I would just keep Montgomery for now. You're not in dire straits. I mean, yes, you're in a position you're in a position, Derek, to prepare yourself for the playoffs. But as far as I'm concerned, you already have the preparation that you need. You have the Lions backfield. You have the Lions backfield. I would just, if Gibbs goes down, now Montgomery's is a slam dunk RB1. If Montgomery goes down, then Gibbs is the slam dunk RB1. And if you have both, they are high end RB2s. Gibbs, any one of them with RB1 upside either any given week, either one of them with an RB2 floor. I mean, they're insanely safe. This is a situation where I would stay put. I would stay put. Yeah. I'm not. If I'm rolling on McCaffrey, y'all can call me out. I am not a proponent of like, feel free. If you're 6-0 or 5-1 or seven, if you're 7-0, you're 6-1, maybe 5-2, and you're cooking with gas. You've scored a shitload of points. You're cruising to the playoffs. You got a ton of depth. Like you nailed every pick, and you want to trade your RB3 or 4 who's doing well for McCaffrey. Fine, sure. Anything else, and I just don't want to mess around with it. I don't want to play that game. I just don't want to play that game. Too much uncertainty. Fortune, your weekly Kyler question. Yeah, I would play Darnold over him tonight. The only quarterbacks that I would play over Sam Darnold this week, in no particular order, is Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen, Jalen Hurts, Joe Burrow, and probably Jordan Love. Definitely Jordan Love because he's playing Jacksonville. That's it. I'm not playing Kyler over Sam Darnold. I'm not playing Anthony Richardson over him. I like Caleb Williams, but I'm not playing Caleb Williams over Sam Darnold. I'm not playing Stroud over him. I'm not playing Geno. I'm not playing Baker. I'm not playing Mahomes. I'm not playing Tua. And like I said, I'm not playing Kyler. It's a good matchup for Kyler, but Kyler continues to do. I mean, can he bust off a 40-yard run for a touchdown? Yeah. Kyler's been running around a lot, which is great. He's throwing the ball for 200 yards and 1 score a game. Darnold gets the funnel that is the Rams defense tonight, and the Rams are getting Cooper Kupp back, and they might get Puka Nacua back. They're almost back to full strength on offense, which means, can we expect some points tonight to be scored? Which means the Vikings, if they have a lead, doesn't matter. They're on the road. They have to stay aggressive. If they're trailing, you got to keep pace. I would play Darnold. I would play Darnold over Kyler. Obviously, in Superflex formats, Kyler's in your lineup. But in one quarterback leagues, Sam Darnold is a top 8 option for me this week, and Kyler isn't. Kyler's maybe closer to 12. Like, he's a starter, but he's not. He's a starter, but like guys like Darnold right now, I have over him. Yeah. I'll take Darnold throwing the ball to Justin Jefferson against the pass funnel Rams secondary. Their defense as a whole is not good. And what do I think is a reasonable if you have both McCaffrey and Jordan Mason? So again, if you're like at or near the top of the standings, you're at or near the top of the league, I would probably just hold. Unless you can get, Mason might not be a locked and loaded RB1 every single week. But as long as McCaffrey is out, he's going to be ranked as a top 10 to 12 running back 90% of the time. If you have both and you're sitting pretty at the top of the standings, I would probably just do nothing. And then you have the perfect excuse to continue to hold out hope for McCaffrey because you have Mason. If you're at the top of the standings and you just have Mason and you're worried about McCaffrey potentially returning and making Mason a nothing burger, you can try to sell, but make sure you get something really good for him while he's still the starter this week. And if you're at the top, if you're at the bottom of the standings and you have McCaffrey, McCaffrey's a sell to somebody at the top of the league who is willing, and who is maybe willing, but also able to take that risk. Likewise, if you're at like the bottom of the standings, you have Jordan Mason. Jordan Mason is a healthy, active body right now who starts. You probably need to keep firing him up and hope that he can help you win a game, win a matchup. So it depends on your specific situation. If I have Mason and McCaffrey and I have a good team, I probably do nothing. If I don't have a good team and I have Mason and McCaffrey, I look to sell McCaffrey on the premise that he returns soon and get a healthy piece that can help you now. So it depends on your specific situation. And as far as Waddle versus McLaurin, and again, I am wrapping up member questions as I see them. That is a perk of being a member of the channel for anybody joining in or sticking around waiting for their question to be answered. I see all your questions. I appreciate y'all's patience. I will go back up to the top. I got to get to my members first, though. I would go Waddle for the simple fact, Fortune, that Tua is back and Daniels is expected to not play. Well, I shouldn't say that. He's not looking good to play. He has missed back-to-back practices. He was designated as week to week with the rib injury. We got to keep an eye on the Friday practice report. If Daniels practices tomorrow, then obviously that throws a wrench into this question. But if Daniels doesn't go, it's rather simple for me, assuming Tua is the starting quarterback for the Miami Dolphins this week. If Tua is active and Daniels is out, I am playing Waddle over McLaurin. If Tua has a setback and can't go, and it's another week of Tyler Huntley, then I would play McLaurin even if his quarterback is Marcus Mariota, because that's how bad Tyler Huntley is. So keep tabs on practice reports. If Jaden Daniels is healthy, McLaurin. If he's not and Tua is active, Waddle. Okay. I don't see any other member questions at this moment in time, but if any, I will keep an eye out in case any others do pop up. Until then, let's go back to the top of the chat and kick things off with the other questions, non-member questions. I'm like stumbling over my words today. Worried about playing the Vikings defense tonight. Yeah, that makes sense. Kupp is back. Puka's trending toward a return, although it could be in a limited fashion. The Chargers, meanwhile, get the Saints. Spencer Rattler. Where is that game? Is that game in New Orleans or is it in LA? It's a home game for the Chargers. Yeah, I am fine with. Now, you have to, if they're on waivers, you have to get them. You have to, and what I'm like, if you don't play the Vikings tonight and you miss out on the Chargers because you don't, whether it's a waiver claim priority or somebody else might be looking at picking them up, or you just don't bid enough FOB, whatever your situation is. If you don't play the Vikings, first of all, yeah, if you don't play the Vikings, it's going to put, I don't know how attentive your league mates are, but it's going to put you on notice that you're clearly trying to pick up another defense, and it's obviously going to be the Chargers because they're on waivers and you can't do it automatically. So, if you know that the rest of your league is not going to pick the Chargers up, if their defenses look to be like set and locked and loaded, because you have to take the Vikings out of your lineup if you're going to do this. So you have to have some pretty good confidence that you will get the Chargers if you do this. See what I'm saying? So if you know you'll get the Chargers, nobody else in your league is going to grab them. Everybody else has their defenses already. I think I can catch the league sleeping and make a Friday waiver claim and get them. Then sure, do that. But if there's a chance that somebody else is going to pick them up and beat you out for the Chargers, then you may have to make the tough call to just start the Vikings. The Vikings are a good defense. They should be okay, even though it is a short week and they're on the road and the Rams are healthy on offense. So it is a tough spot, but they are a good defense if you think you're going to have to just stick with them. You know your league mates and the situation of waivers better than I do as it pertains to your league. If you think you can get away with it, then yes, I would prefer to play the Chargers against the Saints. But you have to have some confidence that you know you're going to get them. Otherwise, we're going to have to pivot to a third option that is probably not as good as the Vikings. No. If it's super flex, you play the quarterbacks. And there's nothing scary about Arizona's matchup against Miami. And honestly, Tua's return presents a situation where more points could be scored in that game, which means Kyler and the Cardinals offense have to stay aggressive. I want Mason in your lineup. I want you to get Mason into your lineup, but not at the expense of starting two quarterbacks, especially in Superflex. Kyler's a must start. In one quarterback, he's not as much of a must start. In Superflex, you have to start him. You have to start him. Let's see. Two wide receivers to start. Dell McMillan. Is that Devontae Smith or Jalen Tolbert? I mean, I would go back to the well with the guys that we, I know they didn't do anything last week. But Devontae, I mean, against Cincinnati, like that's a good spot for Devontae Smith. I would go back to the well with him. I can't start, Jalen Tolbert's intriguing and Jalen McMillan is intriguing. Devontae Smith isn't intriguing. He's just good. I know he didn't do anything last week, but he's the type of dude that you go back to the well with. And I'll say the same for Tank Dell. I know he tanked you, pun intended, with the goose egg last week, but Nico is still out. There's nothing scary about their matchup against the Colts. I would start I would start Devontae Smith. I would start Tank Dell. I would start the dudes that you drafted. Therefore, part of your foundation and guys that you intend to rely on each week. I know you didn't get anything from them last week. I would go back to the well with them. And yeah, before I continue, especially if your questions are a start-sit question and you could play a running back or a wide receiver because it's a flex question, let me know the scoring. Do you start three receivers versus only two receivers? We should all be starting three receivers. Talk to your commissioners at the end of the year. If you still only start two receivers in your starting lineup, let's expand that to three. I will vouch for you. Or if you're the commissioner of your league, just go ahead and implement it at the start of next season. Thank me later. Is it full PPR? Is it half PPR? Is it three receivers in a flex? Is it two receivers in a flex? Are there any bonuses that I should know about? And what is your specific situation? Are you a favorite in this matchup? Are you an underdog in this matchup? How desperate are you for a win? How aggressive do you think you need to be? If you think context will help me, share it. Thanks in advance. So in full PPR with a question about Puka, we have to see. We got to wait on potential. We got to wait on potential news about Puka's availability tonight and what that might, look like. So I would probably, these options are difficult to trust, to be honest, because McConkey hasn't been practicing. Hopkins gets a boost, but he's on a new team, and Olave is practicing and is probably the best option here when healthy, but Spencer Rattler is throwing him the football, so we don't feel as strongly about him. Let's keep tabs on Puka's status. If he's expected to be limited, we can't play him tonight. We just can't. If we get the update that there are no limitations expected for Puka tonight, then we can fire him up. I will say tentatively, I got to look at McConkey. Tentatively, you probably got to plan to go Olave and Hopkins. I want to believe in Puka. I do. I want to believe in Puka, but I do not trust if he's going to be limited. And McConkey's missed 2 straight practices. So that's Olave and Hopkins by default. Do you start Stafford? Okay, so I see it's super flex. I mean, who are your other quarterbacks? because Puka is, as of right now, this could change, but as of right now, Puka's involvement tonight is expected to be limited. So I tentatively I'm fine. I'm okay with starting Stafford in Superflex leagues, but I would need to know if you have another alternative to turn to. Like, do you have Trevor Lawrence? I'd rather play Trevor Lawrence. Do you have Kirk Cousins? I'd rather play Kirk Cousins. Do you have Russell Wilson? I'd rather play Russ. I'd rather play Rodgers in a good matchup. I'd rather play Dak in a game where the Cowboys are going to have to throw. I'd rather play Jared Goff, even if it's a tougher matchup against Tennessee. Yes, he's down J-Mo, but he still has Amon-Ra. He still has Jahmyr Gibbs. He still has Sam Laporta. He still has David Montgomery to throw the football to. So it depends on who your other options are other than Stafford. You can, but he's still only as of right now, I would still only rank him in that QB 21, QB 22, QB 23-ish range, which in a 12-team Superflex league would make him a starter. I would just want to know who your other options are. Would I start the Vikings or the Chargers? So in this instance, I want to play the Vikings because they're the better defense, but on the road, short week, and the vibes seem to be trending up for the Rams for this game, particularly their offense. I am fine playing the Chargers. They are getting the Saints. It's another week of Spencer Rattler. Yes, Chris Olave is back, but Rashid Shaheed is out for the season. We're not expecting this Saints offense to be very good on the road, starting a fifth-round rookie quarterback. This is going to be a tough spot for him. I would play the Chargers. If you already have the Chargers, I would play the Chargers. Obviously, if they're on waivers and you have to wait on them, it's a little bit more of a risky play because you have to end up with them. But if you already have them, I would play the Chargers. I would play the Chargers. See a few members popping in. What's going on, Jay? What's going on, Jake? Good to see you guys. Let's see. I'm going to get to the members, but I see your questions again. Just asking for some patience. MVM, Anthony, Jose. I see all you guys. Sit tight. Appreciate y'all's patience. I got to get to my members first. That is a perk of being a member of the channel. You will get your questions answered in priority order. Let's go to Jake. Darnold or Dak? Darnold. I am starting Darnold as a top 6 or 7 option this week, for better or worse. The Rams are a great matchup for anybody. Opposing quarterbacks, opposing running backs, opposing wide receivers. Darnold gets to throw the ball to Justin Jefferson. That's all I need. I would start Lamar, Josh Allen, Jalen Hurts, Joe Burrow, Jordan Love, and that's it over Sam Darnold. I am playing Sam Darnold over everybody else. Over Kyler, over Dak, over anybody I didn't just mention. Darnold over Dak. And 6-point passing touchdown. So that's a boost to a guy like Darnold who doesn't give you week to week, doesn't give you much on the ground. Darnold. Yep, I love this matchup. Yeah, I think he's a solid QB1 this week. And underdog favorite, doesn't matter to me. Darnold over Dak, Jake. Let's see. Cooper, Hopkins, Robinson, Javonte in full PPR. Not Hopkins. Not with his new team. Not with a midweek trade. I would probably go Javonte against Carol. They're playing Carolina, right? Yeah. I mean, Javonte has been coming on pretty strong recently, and it's another beautiful matchup. That's where I would go. Brian Robinson would be my answer, but it doesn't look like Jaden Daniels is going to play. So while I think that Brian Robinson will be fine, the ceiling of the offense is capped with Marcus Mariota. I would go Javonte. Puka officially, status is changed to healthy. Let me see if there's a specific update as it pertains to Puka. But Puka will play tonight in some capacity. Let's see what do we have a recent update? Officially active. Could be on a snap count. This makes for a very difficult decision. Because on one hand, we know that Puka is a damn stud. On the other hand, if he's on a pitch count, it's hard to trust him. If he's on a pitch count, it's hard to trust him. But Puka is officially active for tonight's game. And Jay, just to wrap up that question, I would play Javonte. Oh, just to wrap up the question, as far as Neighbors, you're starting Malik Neighbors. I know it's Pittsburgh. I know it's not a good matchup. I know it's less than ideal. Neighbors got bottled up last week. Malik Neighbors is already a star. We have to play him. If you have him, he's one of your top 3 wide receivers. I am confident in that. I'm not worried about I'm not worried about Malik Neighbors. I go back to he's like, until further notice, Neighbors is like locked into your starting lineup. We need to get I need to see a lot of bad football over week over week over week for me to reconsider Neighbors. We're not there. I'm not worried about Neighbors. He's that dude. Hey, MVM with a super. Thank you so much. Appreciate that. Who to start? Yeah, I'm going Darnold. I am firing up Darnold with a fair amount of confidence tonight. It's a beautiful matchup against the Rams. Darnold has delivered this year. He gets to throw the ball to Justin Jefferson. They are a run funnel and a pass funnel. The Rams defense is. And the Rams offense is healthy for the first time in a while. Cooper Kupp is back. We don't know how much Puka is going to play tonight, but he is back. I think we can expect the Rams to score some points tonight. That's going to keep the pressure on the Vikings offense to keep pace. This isn't going to be a game where, in all likelihood anyway, where they blow the Rams out early and they're just running the ball in the second half. That's probably not going to be the case. Darnold's going to have to stay involved. And he's just playing well. He was the QB 13 last week, so he just missed out on being a QB 1 officially. Only 1 touchdown to 1 interception, but he chipped in 40 yards on the ground, 39 to be exact. That's a season high. Week 6 bye. Tough matchup against the Jets in London, but other than that, first 4 weeks of the season, Darnold was the QB 14, the QB 4, and the QB 9 back-to-back weeks in weeks 3 and 4. Darnold's a QB 1 tonight. You can comfortably feel good about him as a top 7 or 8 option. I would play Darnold. And we're not, as of right now, we can't expect Daniels to play. He's been diagnosed as, or designated week to week with the rib injury, and he didn't practice today or yesterday. So I don't think we can sit and wait on Jaden Daniels. I would play Darnold. Tua, first game back. Let's give him a week. It's a good matchup. Let's give him a week. And then Bo Nix, I mean, that's they get the Carolina Panthers, who can be beaten by anybody these days. I will go with the veteran. I will go with Darnold. Even on a short week, it's a great matchup. Darnold. I would say Darnold. Give me the veteran. I know the Broncos. They had a good game last week against the Saints. Yeah, I mean, Nix has had a couple of nice games, particularly at home, weeks 5 and 6. He's got 2 games. Those 2 games, he threw 2 touchdowns in both, and then he's got 4 other games where he hasn't thrown a touchdown this year. He came through the past couple weeks on the ground. Yeah, I'll take Darnold over Nix. Darnold over Nix. Appreciate it, MBM. Thank you for the super. Okay. And I guess to follow up I think this was the original question. Yeah, if you need to drop Baker Mayfield for Sam Darnold, that is fine. Baker's ceiling is gone. Godwin out for the year. Evans out for the next 3 weeks. Yeah, Baker can be dropped for Darnold. Is Hopkins a plug and play? No, not necessarily. I mean, we feel good about Hopkins after the trade, but I don't know about necessarily just plug and play. Not this week. Not this week. He helps Mahomes. The trade helps him, and he helps Mahomes. A 32-year-old DeAndre Hopkins did have 1,000 yards receiving last year. So he can still do it. But he's not he's not prime DeAndre Hopkins anymore. So I'm not going to predict that Mahomes is a fantasy QB1 rest of season because they acquired DeAndre Hopkins. I'm not there with Mahomes. But this is a great boost for Hopkins. He goes from being an unplayable wide receiver 4 or 5 to an interesting wide receiver 3. Depending on who your other options are, though, he's not a plug and play. He is still, especially at least this week, he is dependent on who else you have in your on your bench. I would play Mason and Pollard over Hopkins. I would probably play Keenan Allen over him as well. Yeah. I would play Mason against the Cowboys, run funnel. I would play Pollard. Tougher matchup against Detroit, but I would play Pollard ahead of those guys. I would play Keenan Allen, and then I would play Hopkins. I would not play Hopkins. Given your other options, I would not play Hopkins. I would play Mason. And then as far as Murray versus Mahomes, yeah, I'm going to continue to say in 1 quarterback leagues, anybody put Patrick Mahomes. Patrick Mahomes is not playable in 1 quarterback leagues. He's not. He's closer to I'd sooner in 1 quarterback formats, I would sooner drop Patrick Mahomes than start him. We all know what he can do in the NFL. He's the best quarterback in the NFL. Nobody's doubting that. But we're not in the business of predicting who the best player in the NFL is. We are in the business of scoring fantasy points. Mahomes isn't doing that right now. Kyler, for all of his, for all the criticisms, which are all very fair, he runs at a rate much higher than Mahomes. Yes, I know Mahomes he had a nice long run against the 49ers, and he ran one in against the 49ers, and he still only ended up with like 15 right? Like 15 fantasy points last week. No, I was wrong. 12, because he didn't throw a touchdown. He threw 2 interceptions. He's thrown at least 1 interception in every game, and he's thrown 2 twice, including last week. No, I'm not playing Mahomes. I'll play Kyler Murray, even though he's been frustrating too, but I'll play Kyler. At least he runs at a much higher, more consistent rate. His ceiling as a runner is way higher. Yeah, I'm not playing Mahomes. I am not playing Mahomes. Superflex, yeah. 1 quarterback, no shot. Kyler, I know, frustrating, annoying, but I'll play him. I see another member question. You're starting Wan'Dale and Waddle. Would I start Puka over Wan'Dale? I wish I could say yes, but I don't think so. Wan'Dale remains a target hog. he should continue to see even more targets in this game against the Steelers on Monday night. It's not a great matchup. It's not a great matchup, but he continues to put up, he handles a lot of targets. He picks up a lot of catches. He had low yardage last week, but I think he had another 6 catches last week. So, I mean, the volume is there. I need to see, Jake, I need to see between now and kickoff, I need to see another update about Puka that he's not going to be on a pitch count. He's not going to be limited. I need to see that first. Yeah. Keep what you have for now, but let's keep tabs on it. All right, let me go back up to where I had my spot. It is here. You can drop McLaughlin. Again, the Bucks, the ceiling on offense is gone, especially in the short term with both Evans and Godwin out. You may feel a little bit better about them when Evans makes his return, but for now, he goes, McLaughlin is not viable. Yeah, I would pick up Lutz. I would pick up Lutz. I would drop McLaughlin. I would drop McLaughlin everywhere. If you have Chase McLaughlin, make other plans. The Bucs offense is, they're not as trustworthy as they were 7 days ago. Yes, Theo, I would do this trade. This is a dynasty trade, and you're competing for a championship. You can give up a late first and a late second to get a guy who is balling this year, showing no signs of slowing down. Obviously, father time gets everybody, and Derrick Henry's 30 years old, but he still is running like he's a 26-year-old. In this offense, he's already got 9 touchdowns. Was he on pace for like 18 or 19 scores? Yes, I would do that. I would 100% do that. And you have Justice Hill, so you have the insurance policy. We're trying to win a championship. Yes, I would do that trade. And I don't care about what, he's looking for a positive return on investment. That's fine for his perspective. You don't care what he acquired him for. He's worth more than that now. So kudos to this guy for acquiring him and flipping him for more than he got him for. That's hard to do with running backs, but if he's not in a position to win, it makes sense for him. You are in a position to win. It makes sense for you. Make the win now move if you're in win now mode. What's up, Greg? Good to see you, sir. I know I'm bouncing around a little bit. I appreciate everybody's patience. Again, I will be getting to members first. That is a perk of being a member of the channel. So I will be getting, I will get to those questions first, but I see everybody else's questions. Sit tight. Just ask for some patience as I tackle them. Thank you in advance. All right, Greg, what do we got going on? Yeah, I mean, we're not. Good bounce back. Nicely done. 3-1 your last 4 weeks. Cool. Play Aaron Jones. I'm not worried about the hamstring injury because he was on the injury report last week with a hamstring injury and he came through. I have no reason not to move forward with Aaron Jones tonight. And again, it's a beautiful matchup because the Rams are a beautiful matchup for any opposing offensive player. Has he been designated healthy, Aaron Jones? Yep. Off the injury report. We're good. No, we have no concerns about Aaron Jones. I have no concerns about Aaron Jones. You're firing him up with confidence. As far as your wide receivers, we're holding out hope for Debo right now, obviously. Jennings missed practice. Pittman catches the ball from Anthony Richardson. I would say in order, it's Debo, Dobbs, Pittman, Jennings, just based on what we know today, right now. Debo has a chance to play, so that automatically puts him 1 in most wide receiver rankings that don't involve all of the other slam dunk studs. I would say Dobbs second because he catches the ball from Jordan Love, and Michael Pittman has to catch the ball from Anthony Richardson. That sucks for Michael Pittman. Jennings is fourth right now because he's not practicing. So, can't be in consideration if you're not going to play. Obviously, that we have Friday practice reports to get through, and he could return to practice tomorrow, but it's never a good sign to miss back-to-back practices on Wednesday and Thursday. So, Debo, Dobbs, Pittman, Jennings in that order. You're hoping Debo plays. And you can fire him up. If he can't, you go Dobbs, unless Debo's out and Jennings is active. And then I would move Jennings to the top. But it has to be that's what has to happen. That's what has to happen. Jennings is your top option if he's healthy and Debo's out. But we got to see that play out first. And Hawkinson is out tonight, Greg, so you don't have to worry about him. You're firing up Ferguson. Maybe plan to start looking at trades, though, because as you know, I hate rostering 2 tight ends. But Hawkinson is out, so he remains on IR. Nothing to worry about there. He's not playing. Not tonight, anyway. Swift or Hunt? Hunt. It's the Las Vegas Raiders. And that's pretty much it. If you can only play one of these guys, I mean, DeAndre Swift is perfectly fine, but the matchup isn't as good. It's pretty good, but I think it's good because it's Washington. But they've been playing better recently, and the Raiders are a train wreck. And the Chiefs aren't. Not on offense anyway. Another 2 touchdowns for Hunt. He probably should have had 3 last week. I think he was tackled at the goal line on like the 1-yard line. Could have had a 3rd score. That doesn't necessarily translate to this week, but against the Raiders, I feel perfectly confident that the Chiefs will move the ball with all the success in the world because they're the Chiefs and their opponents, the Raiders. I'll take Kareem Hunt. He's getting the rock. He has become the bell cow since he joined the team. And Vegas is getting cooked on the ground on defense. Give me Kareem Hunt. Let's see. And Bucky is not expected to play, so just FYI, be prepared to be without Bucky Irving this week. According to, J.C. Hall is the Bucs beat reporter, I believe. Bucky Irving is not expected to play. So between Tracy and Algier, I mean, I have no choice here, I don't think. I think I have to say Algier. Tracy's in a timeshare unless Devin Singletary is not. I know that he paced Devin Singletary last week, but Singletary's also off the injury report, so you would figure that he gets more opportunities. And it's a brutal, brutal matchup on the road against Pittsburgh. I would probably go Algier. Those are both 2 names that are difficult to trust. But Algier, as sporadic as he is on the field, he does get on the field. And it's a better matchup. Tracy might get similar usage as Algier in a much worse matchup. So I'll take Algier. And then Stevenson or Kirk. The Patriots have the Jets this week, so that's tough. But Christian Kirk, I mean, caught 1 ball last week. Since Evan Engram returned in week 6, Kirk's doing nothing. 3 catches for 39 yards week 6. That was Evan Engram's first game back from injury. Last week, 1 catch for 24 yards. I'll roll the dice on the running back that I expect to get volume in Ramondre. And he's practicing this week as opposed to not practicing last week. So I think he's probably a little bit healthier. He's a little healthier this week than he was last week. So I will go Ramondre. I'll go Ramondre. You could try Sean Tucker if you could pick him up, but I would probably just go Algier. Better offensive situation now, in all likelihood. Metcalf, Lockett, McMillan, Bateman, and I assume that's Pearsall. Bateman is intriguing with Zay Flowers potentially missing the game. I mean, Metcalf has to be in, although he is on the injury report, right? What's the latest on is he going to miss this week, Metcalf? Will not practice Wednesday or Thursday with this knee injury. He could still suit up this weekend. Yeah, we have to come back to this one. If you're not able to make a weekend stream, maybe try to leave this question in the form of a comment on any video on my channel on Saturday or Sunday morning if you would like. We can't answer this one right now because we don't know what Metcalf's status is. If he plays, he's in. If he's in your lineup. If he plays but he's limited, then maybe we go Lockett. If he's out, we definitely go Lockett, and we go Bateman if Flowers is out. We go McMillan if Flowers is in. There's a lot of moving parts with this question. I would encourage you, if you can, to come back on the weekend. Saturday, I'll be streaming for a full start-sit stream, 5 p.m. Eastern, as long as you guys need to go through start-sit questions. This is one of those questions where I do encourage to wait on the weekend. There are so many moving parts here. Based on the availability of DK Metcalf. Didn't practice yesterday, not practicing today, might practice tomorrow, might suit up this weekend. So, maybe we start Metcalf. Maybe we start Lockett if Metcalf is out. Maybe we start those other two guys depending on Metcalf's availability. And Zay Flowers' availability as it pertains to Bateman. Pearsall's availability as it pertains to Debo or Jawan Jennings. So, a lot of moving parts here. Nobody here is playing tonight, so there's no immediate decision that needs to be made. I would encourage you, if you can, to come back on Saturday when we have Friday practice reports and we're a little closer to kickoff, so we have a little bit warmer of a temperature check on this question. Achane versus Kupp. If you can't play both of these guys, which I would prefer to do, but in full PPR, I mean, I guess I have to say Kupp. I mean, they're both must starts. If Tua wasn't playing, the answer would be easy. It's Kupp. Tua being back makes both of these guys must starts. If you can only play one in full PPR, I guess I'll lean Kupp, even though Achane can catch 6 or 7 passes when Tua's in. I'll say Kupp, but I want to play both. Kupp if you can't play both. I lean the wide receiver in full PPR. I got my member questions again. Thank you, Derek. Thank you, Fortune. Tutu Atwell or Trey Palmer? I would have said Atwell. But with Puka returning tonight, I'll say Palmer. I'll say wait on Tutu Atwell. I don't think I trust DeMarcus Robinson. I don't trust Tutu Atwell. Yes, Jordan Whittington is out tonight, but with Puka making his return in addition to Cooper Kupp, having a full complement of snaps, the Rams' depth wide receivers are way less appealing. I'll say Trey Palmer. I think he's more likely to he has a better shot at a larger role or a larger opportunity than Tutu does. I'll say Trey Palmer. Let's see. And then this is just a trade question. You have a winning record. You're sitting in playoff position, so you're okay there. Pollard and Taylor is solid. You have a lot of wide receivers. You don't need this many wide receivers. Well, I would try to trade. I would try to trade one of these guys, if not a couple of these dudes, like McMillan. Any combination of McMillan, Bateman, like, or you could even up the ante and try to move either Metcalf or Evans. I probably wouldn't move Evans right now because you're only going to get pennies on the dollar because he's injured. I would consider moving Metcalf if he's healthy, along with a depth piece to try to target a bigger name. A Jamar Chase and AJ Brown. Metcalf plus McMillan might get that done. Metcalf plus Bateman might get that done if somebody's really hurting at depth or needs live bodies, needs somebody who's active or multiple active players. Metcalf and McMillan, be aggressive, try to get AJ Brown, but you could try that. I would also try to get like another running back. Any running back. Metcalf for you're probably not going to get like a James Cook, but you could try. Probably you could use a couple. You could use a little bit more running back depth. So go around your league. You have lots of wide receivers. Go look at your league mates' rosters. See who is hurting at wide receiver, and see if they're interested in making a move. Talking shop. Find somebody who is weak at wide receiver, strong at running back, and see if you can come to a deal. See if you can come to some type of agreement. Hey, Chuck, appreciate the super. Thank you so much. Very kind of you. Superflex, full PPR, Dowdle, Lockett, McMillan. I like Rico Dowdle, man. I do. I assume this is like a flex and not the super flex position. Lockett is more intriguing if Metcalf doesn't play. So obviously we have the benefit of waiting until Sunday ultimately to make a call here, Chuck. If Metcalf is out, Lockett's my answer. If Metcalf plays, Lockett is still viable, but I like Dowdle as the starting running back for the Dallas Cowboys to continue to soak up more work and more opportunities. He has been taking over. It's not that he's taking over the backfield. He took over the backfield. Dowdle is all over. He has made Ezekiel Elliott irrelevant, which is not surprising. Ezekiel Elliott is old for running back purposes. The Cowboys ran him into the ground for a few years. He went to New England, did a couple nice things last year. He's toast. This is Rico Dowdle's backfield now. And the San Francisco 49ers are not this scary shutdown unit on defense the way they were last year. I like McMillan. Good stash. Good ad. I would play these other two guys ahead of him, though. I would play Lockett if Metcalf is out, and I would play Dowdle if Metcalf is in. And you will know because Dowdle doesn't play until Sunday night. The Seahawks play in the late window, the kickoff, the 4:05, 4:25 Eastern kickoff window. Dowdle doesn't play until Sunday Night Football, so you will know the situation going in. I would play Lockett if DK is out. I would play Dowdle if DK is in. I like Rico Dowdle. He was a 0 RB target, and holy hell did he pay off. Holy hell did he pay off. Yeah, he should be fine. Greg, I think he'll be fine. Like, San Francisco is not a shutdown defense this year, at least not right now. And they already lost Javon Hargrave for the season, one of their primary interior defensive linemen. Yeah. 0 RB truthers. Congratulations. Rico Dowdle has won you an argument or a debate between those who still go robust running back to start their drafts, which is totally fine. But yeah. Thank you, Chuck, for the super. Appreciate that. We have our marching orders, but let me know if you need anything else. And again, I am here Saturday, 5 p.m. Eastern, Sunday, 11 a.m. Eastern, for anybody that wants to run by any last minute start sit questions. All right, let me move back up to where I left my spot in line. Pick one for the flex. Addison tonight. Wait on Debo. Yeah, let's wait on Debo. Because you have good options to pivot to. Don't play Addison tonight. Let's wait on Debo. If Debo can't play, you can play Rico Dowdle, which I am perfectly fine with. Again, Dowdle owners, stand up. We got a 0 RB gem. Rico Dowdle is a 0 RB gem. He's an RB2 rest of season. You were able to draft him 120 picks into a draft. That is a win no matter how you slice it. That's a win no matter how you slice it. No matter what happens from here on out. He has delivered RB1 performances a couple of times. He's tracking to be an RB2 on the season. Win. Big dub. Sit Addison. No need to play him tonight. He could do fine. It's a great matchup. But Debo is that dude, the type of guy that you wait on, and you have a viable starting running back to pivot to if Debo can't play. And they both play Sunday Night Football, so there's no games to mess around with. You'll know if you can't play Debo, and therefore you could pivot to Rico. That's your plan. Wait on Debo, play Rico Dowdle if Debo can't play. That's it. Let's see. Pick 3 for Superflex and 2. So you're playing Justin Herbert. Even if all of his wide receivers are out, we got to play a starting quarterback, especially in this matchup against New Orleans. The Saints stink. They stink. And it's not out of the realm of possibility that Spencer Rattler creates some short fields. The offense in general creates some short fields for the Chargers offense. I know they only kicked like 5 field goals last week, but Herbert is still a good quarterback, a really good quarterback. We'll get some course correction in the touchdown department with him eventually. In Superflex, I would play Herbert. And then your 2 flexes are Garrett Wilson and Jalen Waddle. I don't trust Marvin Harrison right now. We hope he goes off, but he hasn't gone off since week 2, basically. And Olave is catching passes from Spencer Rattler. At least Garrett Wilson is catching passes from Aaron Rodgers, and Jalen Waddle is again catching passes from Tua Tagovailoa. We're going Herbert in your Superflex spot, and we're going Wilson and Waddle in your 2 flexes. Olave and Marvin Harrison to the bench. Yep. Herbert, Wilson, Waddle. Trade Neighbors for Kupp. That's interesting. I'm inclined to say no. Just because Kupp, as a 31-year-old, is a greater injury risk than Neighbors, who's obviously like a 21-year-old kid in his prime. He might already be in his prime. He might already, Neighbors' prime is about to last a decade. I think I say no. And I don't think you're in a position to ask for like Kupp plus something. But this is a situation where like I'd rather keep the younger guy who doesn't have 3 straight seasons of injury issues. Kupp has now missed a good amount of time this year. He missed a lot of time last year. I would just keep Neighbors. Obviously, Cup is all world when healthy, but Neighbors is like trending in that direction, and he's 10 years younger. I'll take the younger player. That is almost as big a compliment I can give to Malik Neighbors. As a rookie, I do not want to trade him for probably a future Hall of Famer in Cooper Kupp. When you have an historic season that caps off with a Super Bowl performance, I think it's fair to say that you're at least in the conversation to be a Hall of Famer, even if his track record isn't super long. It was dominant. Yeah, I would keep Neighbors. Sam Regino, give me Darnold. Give me Slam and Sammy D tonight. Darnold against the Rams is, for me, a top 6 or 7 play at quarterback this week. Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen, Jalen Hurts, Joe Burrow, Jordan Love. Those are the quarterbacks I'm starting over Sam Darnold. End of list. For at least this week. Against the Rams? Yeah. I'll take Darnold. I will take Darnold. Yep, I'll take Darnold. I'm taking Darnold over everybody over other than the high end options. Jacobs, Robinson, Taylor. I would sit Brian Robinson, assuming Jaden Daniels doesn't play, because then the offense's ceiling is capped. And Taylor is trending toward coming back. Taylor's trending toward coming back. Full practice today. Looking good. Jacobs, love the Packers offense for him. Some people I'm seeing people like concerned about Josh Jacobs. It's like, dude, it's fine. I like one of the experts who I actually like, an expert, a pundit in the field who I actually like and respect, was like, trade Josh Jacobs. You know, the touchdowns haven't been there yet this year. And the Packers offense is, it's not running through him. It's like, well, yeah, Jordan Love is back, but the offense is really good. And the touchdowns aren't there because he had to, they had to go run through like a bit of a rough stretch at the start of the season where Malik Willis played well, but he was kind of just holding down the fort, not necessarily lighting things up. Like, Jacobs is not a sell for me. He's perfectly fine as a hold. And against the Jacksonville Jaguars this week, come on. Jacobs and Taylor, because Brian Robinson is not looking likely to have his quarterback. And so that's the difference. I got my member questions. Jake, Greg, thank you guys again. Good to see you both. And Jay, Jake, and Greg. Good to see you guys. Always good to see my members. Good to see everybody. Thank you guys for thinking enough to come hang out for a little bit of time tonight. But I definitely got to give the special shout outs to my members. They help keep the lights on around here. If you are, I forgot to say this or ask this, whether you are a member or not, I do only ask that if you are enjoying the stream, enjoying the dialogue and the engagement, if you could just like the stream, that helps me for algorithm purposes. Appreciate that in advance. And it's easy. All you got to do is click that little button right underneath the stream. So play Puka tonight. I think my final thoughts here are no. I really want to. I want to play Puka, but if he's limited and he's going to be in and out of the lineup, and they're cautious with him, let's see if we get any do we have any new updates here? Nakua was activated. Oh, this is the same update from 40 minutes ago. Activated off injured reserve, has not played since suffering the knee injury week 1. The wide receiver was expected to test out his knee in pregame warmups to determine how much playing time he would see in his return. Considering he may be on a snap count, fantasy managers should consider potentially finding another. What is this friggin' write-up? Should consider potentially finding another starting option. Yeah, I mean, right. Sure. And he did practice this week in a limited fashion. It needs to be between Puka and like dart throws. Then I would play Puka. But if you've got like Jalen Waddle, I would probably play Waddle with Tua coming back. If you've got Amari Cooper, I would probably play him. Like a Devontae Adams, I would probably play him. Where the conversation for me starts is like maybe say Terry McLaurin, because if he doesn't have Jaden Daniels, then his ceiling is capped. So it depends. Depends on who you have. Depends on who you have. And I got this question, but appreciate your patience as I worked through other questions. Thoughts on Troy Franklin? I mean, he should continue to have, he should continue to get opportunities as the season progresses. It's a beautiful matchup against the Carolina Panthers. He's a wide receiver, 5. Where's he ranked on the depth chart now? He's moved up to number 2. I don't know how long he's been there, admittedly. 6 targets last week. That is a high on the season. Obviously, best performance of the season, 5 for 50. I know he caught the touchdown week 6, but 5 for 50 on 6 targets is his best overall performance on the season. Not from a fantasy perspective, just, from a usage perspective. Yeah, I mean, his role is going to continue to grow. He's a wide receiver 5 for now. It's a good matchup. You're not starting him unless you're maybe in like a 16-team league that starts three wide receivers and a flex or 2. But yeah, ascending player. Ascending young player on a young offense. I think it's fair to call the Broncos ascending. They're playing decent. They're not world beaters right now, but they're playing decently well. Wide receiver 5 with upside. What's up, Dynasty Football Key? Good to see you. Everybody, make sure to give DFK there a follow on or a subscribe on Instagram, on YouTube. I am on Instagram, but I'm on here way more frequently. Yeah, I'm not the only one trying to help folks out this year. Dynasty Football Key's doing the same. Let's see. I got the member questions in this stretch here. Greg, thanks again, man. Again, don't play Hawkinson. He is out. And I know that Greg has Dowdle. Love to see it. I think I got this question already. I would play Darnold over CJ Stroud. I mean, I think this is a great spot for Darnold tonight. I really do. I mean, Stroud has been okay this year. He hasn't been great. Darnold, pound for pound, has been better. Like, Stroud has bottomed out a couple of times, including last week. He was bad last week. Now, there's nothing scary about the matchup at home against Indianapolis. He's been better. He's been generally better at home this year. And he already got the Colts in week 1. 230 passing yards, 2 touchdowns. Solid. Not a week-winning performance, but solid. I would play Darnold. It's a beautiful matchup against LA. Yeah, give me Slam and Sammy D. T-Man, appreciate the kind words. Glad to hear that you're on a bit of a winning streak. Happy you found the channel, and happy that the advice has been helpful. That's what it's all about. Would I go Pollard? Yes, I would go Pollard over all of those guys. It's a tough matchup against Detroit, but wait, Tajay Spears might be returning this week. So that's a little less. Tajay Spears is tracking to return. Pollard didn't go nuts last week, but he did have good usage. 16 carries, 61 yards. Not great, but 16 carries is good. 6 targets is huge. So he had 22 opportunities overall. He only caught 2 of those 6 targets for 4 yards. So that's a little unlucky. but he probably is going to catch the ball a little bit more against Detroit. Tough matchup, and DeAndre Hopkins out of the picture. I think I would still play Pollard. I'll say this. If Tajay Spears is active, I'm okay with pivoting. I'm okay with pivoting to, well, we got to see what ETN's for. You have Bigsby. We got to see what ETN's status is. Ugh. Stays limited, so he's going to be involved, which is annoying, even though he didn't do anything the last time we saw him in week 6. Maybe you do go. I mean, I would stick with Pollard. Rico if Tajay Spears returns. Pollard if Tajay Spears is out for another game. It depends on Tajay Spears. If Spears is in, I might be okay with going to Rico because I know he's the dude for Dallas. If Spears is out, then I would go back to the well with Pollard. For Superflex bench, stash Dalton or Minshew. I mean, both. Both if you can. I mean, Dalton has turned into a pumpkin the past couple weeks. It's possible that the team goes back to Bryce Young. It's possible they continue to move forward with Dalton. It's possible Minshew continues to start even when Aiden O'Connell comes back. It's possible both of these guys lose their jobs. Anything is on the table with like these fringe starting quarterbacks. I mean, I guess my answer is I would try to keep both. If you can only keep one, I mean, if you can only keep one, I guess I would give. Are the Raiders a little bit better than the Panthers? I guess I give the slight nod to Minshew. I don't even know how confident I am in that. I would prefer. I mean, I would keep both if you can. I guess I give this. Dalton is the starter even when Bryce Young is healthy as of right now. O'Connell was tracking to start for at least a couple of games because Minshew's been bad. Yeah, I don't know. I would stash both if you can. Stash Minshew, I guess, if you can only stash one. Raiders might be a little bit better than the Panthers. We're talking about two of the worst teams in the league, though, so we're splitting hairs there. Yeah, that's that's tough. Both of them are viable as bench stashes. I guess I give the slight nod to Minshew. Kelsey or Andrews. If we can only start one, I mean, it depends on. I guess I would be more inclined to play. I guess I'd be more inclined to play Andrews if Zay Flowers is out. But if Zay Flowers is active, I'm fine with sticking with Kelsey. If you can only play one. Kelsey if Zay Flowers is active. Andrews if Zay Flowers is out. You also did just trade for Kelsey, so that's maybe an incentive to play him, like make it worth the investment. You know what I mean? Puka versus McMillan. Yeah. Puka feels like the moonshot. if you are and you're trying to get back into contention, it's risky, Chuck. There's a lot of risk here. But if you are maybe feeling the heat a little bit and you need to be aggressive, to get back into playoff contention, maybe play Puka and just hope that he can come through. We have to keep in mind with Puka Nacua, the chance that he doesn't play a whole lot tonight is very real. However, he is active, and when he's on the field, we know he's a stud. We know he's a stud. If you want to be aggressive, Puka. If you think that you can get away with the more conservative approach, Chuck, and maybe get away with I have a good team. I like my matchup this week. I may only need 7 or 8 points to win. That's McMillan. If you think you need 12 or 13 points, knowing you may only end up with 3 or 4, then I would go with Puka. So it depends on how aggressive you think you need to be. Puka is your aggressive moonshot, swing for the fences play. McMillan is your safe play that should have a decent floor, especially in PPR leagues with Godwin out for the season. Crumbly, I did see you fired this question. Who do you have in who do you have in your lineup now? I'm looking. I would take the risk. I might take the risk and play him over Ladd McConkey, Crumbly Heads, because Ladd is missing practice. Ladd has not practiced today or yesterday. So, if you don't play Puka and Ladd can't go, I would play Puka, actually, Crumbly Heads. If you want to be aggressive, this is you have to make and this is for everybody. If Puka's an option for you, you have to decide for yourself, how aggressive do I want to be? Puka is the aggressive, risk it for the biscuit, but has a very, very low floor play. So it depends on how aggressive you want to be or think you need to be. So in your specific situation, Crumbly Heads, you have Ladd McConkey in there. He's not practicing right now. So I might roll the dice and play Puka. I might play Puka. And then if Ladd does turn out to play and you want to play him, I can't believe I'm saying this, but you could theoretically, if you wanted to, move off of McLaurin for Ladd McConkey because McLaurin's ceiling is lower if Jaden Daniels doesn't play. So, yeah. Depends on how aggressive you want to be. But if you've got a guy who's trending toward not playing, then fuck it. Maybe fire up Puka because he is playing. How much? We'll see. Do you trade JMO for Rico Dowdle? I would. As long as you're not hurting at wide receiver otherwise. If you just lost Ayuk, if you just lost Godwin, if you just lost Evans, maybe I press pause on this. But if you've got good wide receiver options, we all need running back depth. Nobody can say no to running back depth. And Rico Dowdle is an RB2 rest of season. He's past his bye week and he's the Cowboys starter. That's all I need to know. Yeah, I would. If you can acquire Rico and your wide receiver depth is good, yes. Yeah, I would do this trade. I would do that deal. Njoku or McBride? What did McBride do last week against the Chargers? I did not watch that game because it was an ESPN exclusive, and I was like, I'm just focused on Ravens Bucks, and then Godwin got hurt, and my soul left me for 5 hours. So I couldn't bring myself to. Okay, he had 5 catches for 51 yards on 7 targets, did Trey McBride. Njoku popped last week, and now he's catching passes from Jameis Winston. He had 14 targets. Njoku. Yeah. I don't always like getting sucked into chasing what a tight end did. Of all of the positions where I try not to chase the previous week's production, tight end is number 1. But in this instance with Njoku, I mean, Amari Cooper's gone. Their wide receiver core stinks. Baltimore has struggled to defend the pass this year in general. And Njoku just got 14 targets. He's the clear-cut best option that the Browns have as a pure pass-catching option. And by all accounts, Jameis Winston is expected to be, an upgrade over Deshaun Watson. Yeah, Njoku. That's where we're at with McBride. Yeah. Like McBride, I mean, McBride's been good, but he hasn't been top 3 on the season good. So, yeah, I'll go Njoku. Jake's got a trade question. Would I trade Cook for Brian Thomas? You have Bijan, you have Achane, you have Rico, you have Brooks. You are getting Waddle with Tua back. You're getting Puka back. Achane is boosted by 2. I would not do this, Jake. I love Brian Thomas Jr. He is awesome. He is so good. But if you trade Cook, you currently are down to Bijan, Achane, and Rico Dowdle as your healthy running backs. We're waiting on Jonathan Brooks to make his return. I do not think it'll be this week. Trading a running back without getting one in return, it puts a lot of pressure on the guys that you do have to stay healthy. If any one of those other guys go down, now it's like now your depth is razor thin. Whereas in the meantime, you're getting Strong at wide receiver organically. Waddle is startable again because Tua is coming back. Puka is healthy. He might not be startable tonight for your specific situation, but he is making his return. You're getting reinforcements at wide receiver without having to do anything. So, no, I would not. I love Brian Thomas, but in this specific situation, I would not do that trade. I know, Cook's guy, he's on the injury report. He's dealing with that, but he's still in a good offense. He's attached to Josh Allen. The touchdowns may not stay consistent, but he is the starting running back in an elite offense. I'll roll the dice on that, given your situation at wide receiver. You're getting healthy at wide receiver. You're getting right at wide receiver at the right time. I would not compound that by acquiring a wide receiver at the expense of making my running depth thinner. I would hold what you have. Okay, you lost Ayuk, so he's down. He's done for the season. Metcalf might not play this week. We'll see. You can start Higgins. You can start Shakir. You picked up McMillan, so your wide receivers are hurting a little bit. But you have Brees and you have Kyron. If you are in need of wins, maybe you're 2-5, maybe you're 3-4, and you haven't scored as many points as some of your league mates. Then I would make the trade because Jameson Williams can't help you for a couple of weeks. If you are in good shape, you're 5-2, you're 6-1, you're 4-3 with a lot of points scored, I would not do this deal because your running backs are in a little bit stronger of a position than your wide receivers currently are. So it depends on your standing in the league. If you have a good record, or maybe you're like 4-3, but you've scored a lot of points, maybe not. If you're 3-4 or 2-5, hopefully you're not 1-6. But if you are, then I would maybe make the move because Jameson Williams can't help you for 2 weeks. It depends on where you stand in the standings. So I would go based on that. Dynasty question. Devontae and Bigsby for Puka. You can. In Dynasty, you can, because Puka's younger than Devontae Smith and is tracking is on the fast track to eventually ascend as the clear-cut, no doubt, wide receiver 1 for his team. If and when the Rams move on from Cooper Kupp, they may trade him this year. Like in Dynasty, it's always like, what's the contract situation of the teammates that you're referring to? Kupp's contract situation with the Rams. The team has a potential out after this season, and they may exercise that if they decide that they want to get younger as they kind of start a rebuild. The only problem with Puka would be if he ascends to the wide receiver 1 role for his team. Did I lose my video? Or did Spotrack freeze me out? I hope not. No, I'm good. We're good. We're back. I think we're back. The only question here is who is throwing Puka the football if the Rams blow it up? Because if they blow it up, Puka's not going to – they're going to keep Puka. He's a building block for their future. That being said, I think in Dynasty, I would make this move. If you're strong at running back, you feel good about your running backs, your depth is solid, you run 5 deep, you're in a good position even if you lose 1 or 2 to an injury that is short-term. I would make this trade. Yes. I would make this trade. Yeah. Kupp is still awesome, but his days as the clear-cut number 1 are numbered. Still no late, there's no new update for Puka. So again, final thoughts on Puka Nacua. If you have him, it depends on how aggressive you want to be. If you're a favorite, if you're sitting pretty, and you can play it safe, maybe do your safe play. If you need to be aggressive and you don't have clear-cut slam dunk alternate options, you can try being aggressive with Puka. Just depends. All right, you're 5-2. I would I think I would hold. I'm not trading Brees and I'm not trading Kyron. I mean, I don't know who your other wide receivers are or what the rest of your bench looks like. I don't mind the acquisition of Dowdle if you can make it happen. But I don't want to give up Higgins to do it. I don't think I want to give up J-Mo because you're not in a desperate position. Although you did just lose Ayuk. And you're getting DK back eventually. So your starting wide receivers would be Higgins and Metcalf. And J-Mo is a depth option. I think I would keep what you have. Explore a Dowdle trade because I'm all about acquiring Rico Dowdle if you can. But you're not desperate for help now since you're 5-2. So I would wait on J-Mo. I don't know, maybe try to flip Shakir if the person who has Dowdle is desperate at wide receiver. Yeah. Could try McMillan as well, although he's a little bit more intriguing with Godwin out for the season. So I may want to hang on to him. And you didn't lose Godwin, but you did lose Ayuk for the season. So McMillan might have a little bit more value to your specific team. All right. I'm at the end of the chat. I don't think I missed any questions so far. Let me know if you missed an answer to your question, and I can take it here in the last minutes before Thursday Night Football kicks off. But if there is nothing else, appreciate everybody for coming in and hanging out tonight ahead of kickoff. Special shout out to my members. I saw Derek tonight. I saw Crumply Heads tonight. I saw Fortune tonight. I saw Jay. I saw Jake. I saw Greg. I think that's it. And Dynasty Football Key. He didn't have a question, but always jumping in just to say hi. Much appreciated. And then, thank you to the folks who sent the supers. Tyler, MVM, Chuckman. Thank you guys very much for the support. Much appreciated. I will be back on Saturday, 5 p.m. Eastern for more start sit help. We will have Friday practice reports. We will have a better pulse going into the weekend. And we will, have a definitive call that we can make there as it pertains to any questions about guys that are on the injury report. So make sure to come on back for the weekend if you have start-sit questions that are still outstanding, 5 p.m. Eastern. I did. I saw it. Big shout out. Is it Gruppy? Grupp or Lutz? I know it's the Saints kicker. I would go Lutz against the Carolina Panthers. Yeah, I want to start anybody against the Carolina Panthers. I'll say Lutz. The Broncos offense is good enough to move the ball against Carolina. But there's still that type of offense where you wouldn't be surprised if they stall out here and there once or twice in scoring position. Give me Lutz. Give me Lutz against the Panthers. All right, guys. I think that'll do it for me tonight, but thank you guys again. Come on back, 5 p.m. Eastern for start sit help on Saturday, and we'll get the lineups officially sorted out ahead of the full Week 8 slate. Best of luck tonight, everybody. Enjoy the game, and I will see you guys on Saturday. Thanks, everybody.